Imagine walking into what you think is the dumbest setup of your life, only to realize, 30 seconds later, that the person sitting across from you might be the one thing you've been missing your entire existence. Your friends laugh behind your back, planning to mock you later. But she looks at you, not with pity, not with obligation, but with quiet curiosity that makes your chest ache in a way you forgot was possible. What if the joke was never on you, but on everyone who underestimated what could happen next? This isn't just a date story. It's the moment my whole world tilted on its axis. Stay with me, because the truth I learned that day almost broke me, and then rebuilt me stronger. My name is Alex Thompson. 31 now, but this all started when I was 28, still convincing myself I was fine being alone. I lived in a mid-sized city called Riverton. Big enough for decent coffee shops and art galleries, small enough that everyone knew someone who knew your business. My apartment was on the 8th floor of a brick building downtown, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the river that fed into the big lake 10 minutes away. I designed logos, websites, album covers for indie bands, work I loved, even when deadlines made my eyes burn. On paper, life looked stable. Underneath, I carried quiet grief. Mom died 2 years earlier. Pancreatic cancer. Fast, cruel, no warning. 1 month she was planning our annual fishing trip, the next she was gone. I threw myself into work, into late-night gaming sessions with the guys, into anything that drowned out the silence she left behind. Dating became something I did to prove I was moving on. Short relationships. Surface-level connections. Nothing that risked real vulnerability. My crew, Jake, Mike, and Sarah, had been my constant since freshman year of college. Jake, the loud salesman with endless charisma. Mike, the quiet IT guy who fixed everyone's computers and never asked for credit. Sarah, sharp-tongued marketing whiz who could read a room in seconds. We met weekly at O'Malley's, the same dive bar we'd claimed since we were 21. They watched me cycle through the same patterns, meet someone, get excited for a month, then pull back when it got serious. "You're turning into a hermit, man," Jake said one Friday, sliding another beer my way. 30's around the corner. "You gonna die alone with your fancy monitors?" Sarah rolled her eyes. "He's not dying alone. He's just selective." "Selective is code for scared," Mike added quietly. I shrugged it off like always. But that night they got serious. "Tomorrow," Jake declared. "Blind date. Lakeside Café. 3 o'clock. We've already arranged it. You show up or we drag you." I laughed. "With who? Your cousin who talks about crypto the whole time?" "Better," Sarah said mysteriously. "Trust us." I didn't trust them. Not even a little. But curiosity, and maybe a tiny flicker of hope, made me agree. Worst case, I'd get free coffee and ammunition to tease them for months. Saturday arrived gray and cool, the kind of autumn day where the lake looks like smoked glass. I wore my favorite gray hoodie, jeans, sneakers. Walked into the cafe expecting chaos, maybe a table full of my friends hiding with phones, ready to film my embarrassment. Instead, the place was nearly empty. A barista wiped counters. An older couple read newspapers in the corner. I ordered black coffee, sat by the window, and waited. 3 minutes after 3, the bell above the door rang. She stepped inside like she'd walked out of one of my quieter dreams. Dark hair falling in loose waves past her shoulders, green sweater the color of moss after rain, faded blue jeans, canvas sneakers with paint flecks on the toes. Under her arm, a worn leather sketchbook. She scanned the room, eyes landing on me. A small, genuine smile curved her lips, not performative, not nervous. Just, warm. "Alex?" Her voice was soft but clear, carrying across the quiet space. I stood halfway out of my chair before I realized it. Yeah. Elise? She nodded, crossing the floor with easy grace. Your friends described you perfectly. Gray hoodie. Mildly suspicious expression. I let out a surprised laugh. They know me too well. She sat. Up close, her eyes were hazel. Greenish-brown with gold flecks, like forest light. Freckles dusted her nose and cheeks. No heavy makeup, just a faint flush from the cool air outside. We started small. Weather. Coffee orders. Then it deepened without effort. She was 29, freelance illustrator. Book covers, children's stories, occasional editorial pieces for magazines. She'd moved to Riverton 18 months earlier after a long relationship ended badly. He wanted constant excitement, she said quietly. I wanted quiet mornings and long walks. Turns out those aren't compatible for everyone. I told her about my job, how I loved solving visual problems but hated client revisions that turned good work into corporate mush. She listened, really listened, asking questions that showed she understood creative frustration. Show me something, she asked after our second coffees arrived. I pulled out my phone, scrolled to a recent project, a moody poster for a local band's EP. Dark blues, fractured lines, a single glowing lyric in white. Her eyes widened. That's beautiful. The negative space, it breathes. No one had ever said that about my work. Not like that. She opened her sketchbook. Pages filled with pencil and ink, a child chasing pigeons in the park, an old man feeding ducks, the curve of a bridge at twilight. Her lines were confident yet tender, every drawing felt alive, like it carried emotion in the stroke. These are incredible, I said, meaning it. She ducked her head, cheeks pink. Thank you. Most people just say, nice. Time dissolved. The barista started stacking chairs. We hadn't noticed. Outside, the sky had turned lavender. We walked to the parking lot slowly, neither wanting to end it. This was. I started. Unexpected, she finished. In the best way. We swapped numbers. She drove off in a small blue hatchback covered in bumper stickers, national parks, art museums, a faded, Be Kind one. I sat in my car for 10 full minutes, staring at my phone, heart hammering. The texts began that night. Her, survived the prank date? Smirking face. Me, barely. You? Her, I think I won. You didn't run screaming. We messaged until 2 a.m. Memes turned into stories. She told me about growing up in a tiny mountain town, how her dad taught her to draw by copying bird wings. I told her about Mom's garden, how she'd plant wildflowers just to see what survived. How after she died, I couldn't bring myself to visit the grave more than twice a year. She sent a photo, her sketchbook open to a quick drawing of the cafe window, me visible in silhouette, coffee cup in hand. Her, caught you mid-thought. Me, creepy. I love it. A week later, we met again. Same trail that circled the lake. She wore hiking boots this time, carried a small backpack with water and granola bars. I brought 2 thermoses of coffee. We walked for hours. Talked about everything and nothing. Favorite books, her, The Night Circus, me, All the Light We Cannot See. Childhood embarrassments. Dreams we'd given up on. Halfway around the loop, she stopped under a massive oak, leaves just starting to turn red. Alex. I need to tell you something important. My pulse spiked. Okay. She looked straight at me. This whole thing, it started as a joke. Your friends contacted me through a mutual acquaintance. Said you were stuck in your ways, needed shaking up. They asked me to go on the date, act interested for an hour, then ghost or make it awkward so you'd complain and they'd have their laugh. They even offered to pay for my coffee as payment. The world tilted. They what? I said yes at first because, honestly, I was bored. Single for a year, tired of apps. Figured it'd be harmless fun. But then I saw you sitting there, looking quietly hopeful despite everything. And we talked. And it wasn't a game anymore. I couldn't go through with the ghosting part. I didn't want to. Anger burned hot in my throat. At Jake. At Sarah. At Mike for staying silent. But underneath it, something softer. Gratitude. Because she'd chosen truth over the easy exit. So why stay? I asked, voice rough. Because for the first time in a long time, I didn't want the conversation to end. Silence stretched between us. Wind moved through the branches. I took one step. Then another. Reached for her hand. Her fingers were cold, mine warm from the thermos. I don't care how it started, I said. I care that you're here now. She searched my face. Then smiled, small, relieved, radiant. We kissed there under the oak, slow and careful, like we were both afraid it might vanish if we moved too fast. Cliffhanger 1, would the truth poison everything, or become the foundation? It became the foundation. But foundations get tested. I confronted the group the next weekend at O'Malley's. Walked in, sat down, looked each of them in the eye. You set me up as a prank. Told her to make it awkward. Offered her money. Silence. Jake looked at his beer. Sarah's face went pale. Mike stared at the table. It was just, Jake started. Just what? Funny? Because it wasn't funny to her. Or to me when I found out. Sarah spoke quietly. We thought, you'd laugh it off. Like always. I didn't laugh. And neither did she. Mike finally looked up. I'm sorry, man. I should have said something. The apology felt hollow, but it was there. Things shifted after that. Group hangs became awkward. Jake kept making jokes on us, comments that landed flat. Mike pulled away entirely for a while. Sarah tried to fix it with forced invites, but the ease was gone. It hurt. These were the people who'd carried me through college breakups, bad jobs, mom's funeral. Now part of me wondered if they'd ever really seen me. Elise felt it too. One evening on my couch, rain tapping the windows, she curled against me and whispered, "What if your friends are right? What if I'm not enough excitement for you long term?" I turned her face to mine. You think I want fireworks every day? I want someone who sees me when I'm quiet. Who draws me when I'm not looking. Who stays when it's hard. That's you. Tears slipped down her cheeks. My ex said I was too much work. Too introspective. Too still. Then he was blind. We decided to build anyway. That winter we took our first real trip, a cabin in the mountains 2 hours north. Snow on the pines, wood stove crackling, no cell service most of the time. We cooked terrible pancakes, read books aloud, sketched together by the fire. She drew me sleeping on the couch, I framed it later. Spring brought new challenges. My work dried up for 2 months, clients ghosting, budgets slashed. I panicked quietly, afraid of seeming unstable. Elise noticed. One night she sat me down with tea. You're allowed to struggle, Alex. You don't have to carry it alone. She started submitting her art to galleries. Got her first acceptance, a small show downtown. I helped hang the pieces, watched strangers stand in front of her work and feel things. Pride swelled in me so big it hurt. Summer arrived. We hiked more. Camped. She taught me to identify birds by call. I taught her Photoshop shortcuts. We fought sometimes. Stupid things like whose turn it was to do dishes, bigger things like how much to tell friends about our relationship. But we always circled back to honesty. One crisp October evening, back at Lakeside Café, now our place, I waited until the sun dipped low. I pulled a small box from my pocket. Elise, that day was supposed to be nothing. A laugh for other people. Instead it became everything. I don't want mornings without your sketches on the counter. I don't want nights without your voice. Marry me? She stared at the ring, simple silver band, tiny emerald to match her sweater that first day, then at me. Yes, she whispered. Then louder, laughing through tears, yes. Cliffhanger too, could we survive the planning, the doubts, the inevitable storms? We could. And we did. Wedding was small, lakefront gazebo, 30 people max. Jake showed up the night before, drunk and teary on my doorstep. I fucked up, he said. I was jealous. You found real while I was still chasing shallow. I'm sorry. We talked until sunrise. Forgave, not perfectly, but enough. He stood as groomsman. Mike came too, quiet but present. Sarah helped Elise with her veil. The ceremony was simple. Vows we wrote ourselves. When I said, "You turned a joke into the truest thing in my life," she cried. When she said, "You saw me when I felt invisible," I nearly lost it. Reception under string lights. Dancing barefoot on grass. Cake with wildflowers. Years blurred in the best way. We bought a small house 5 minutes from the lake, blue shutters, big windows, room for art supplies and design monitors. 2 kids came, first a girl, Lila, who inherited Elise's dark hair and my stubbornness, then a boy, Rowan, who draws monsters and laughs like his mom. Every anniversary we returned to the cafe. Same table by the window. Same coffees. We watch new couples come in, some nervous, some laughing. We smile at each other, remembering. The dog, a goofy golden retriever named Scout, steals socks and sleeps on the kids' beds. The house smells like coffee, paint, and whatever bread Elise is baking that day. Looking back, that prank wasn't cruel fate. It was a clumsy, misguided arrow that somehow hit the exact right mark. Life still has hard days. Work stress. Kid fevers. Arguments about money or time. Grief still visits, anniversaries of mom's passing hit quieter now, but they hit. But we face them together. The message is simple, and maybe you felt it too. Sometimes the best chapters start with someone else's bad idea. Sometimes love arrives wearing the wrong costume, awkward, unexpected, disguised as a joke. But if you look past the surface, if you choose honesty over pride, if you hold on when everything says let go, it can rewrite your entire story. Don't wait for perfect timing. Don't wait for permission. The person who changes everything might be sitting across from you right now, even if the whole world thinks it's temporary. See the real beneath the setup. And never underestimate what can grow from the ashes of a bad joke. If this story moved you, if it reminded you of a moment when life surprised you in the best way, please hit that like button and subscribe. It means the world and helps more stories like this find their way to people who need them. Thanks for staying until the end. I'll see you in the next one.